Good morning. I'm Rashawn Gidwani, and you're watching the Daily Morning Note. It's Tuesday, the 14th of February, 2023. Singapore shares failed to hang on to opening gains and finished lower on Monday as caution prevailed ahead of the release of key U.S. inflation figures on Tuesday. The key Straits Times Index fell 35.99 points, or 1.1%, to 3,324.70. Wall Street stocks won solid gains on Monday in an optimistic round of trading ahead of key inflation data that will influence U.S. monetary policy. The Dow Jones Industrial Average finished up 1.1% at 34,245.93. The broad-based S&P 500 also climbed 1.1% to 4,137.29, while the tech-rich Nasdaq Composite Index jumped 1.5% to 11,891.79. Singapore's GDP grew by 2.1% year on year in the fourth quarter of 2022, moderating from the 4.0% expansion in the previous quarter. The GDP for the fourth quarter of 2022 brings the country's full-year GDP to 3.6%, down from the Ministry of Trade and Industry's flash estimate of 3.8% and moderating from the 8.9% growth in 2021. For the full year, the manufacturing sector grew by 2.5%, slower than the 13.3% growth in 2021. SATS has reported earnings or PATMI of $0.5 million for the third quarter of financial year 2023 ended December 31st, 2022, 90.2% lower than earnings of $5.1 million in the same quarter the year before. However, the positive PATMI comes after the losses in the first two quarters of the year, reflecting an improvement in business conditions and the seasonal high, says SATS. Netlink NBN Trust has reported a profit after tax of $81.8 million for the first 9 months of financial year 2023, ended December 31st, 2022, 24.2% higher than the $65.8 million in the same period the year before. In its business update, the trust saw 9 months of financial year 2023 revenue increase by 6.5% year on year to $299.8 million. Paragon REIT, formerly SPH REIT, has reported a distribution per unit of 1.72 cents for the 4 months of financial year 2022 ended December 31st, 2022, unchanged year on year compared to the same period the year before. The DPU for the 4 months of financial year 2022 is expected to be paid on March 28th. First REIT has reported a distribution per unit or DPU of 0.66 cents for the fourth quarter of financial year 2022 ended December 31st, 2022, unchanged quarter on quarter since the first quarter of financial year 2022. The quarterly DPU, which also stood unchanged from the same period the year before, is payable on March 30th. Tyson Electric has reported earnings of $11.9 million for the first half of financial year 2023 ended December 31st, 2022. This is 40.4% higher than the profit of $8.5 million during the first half of financial year 2022. Food Empire says it expects to report a substantially higher profit after tax for the financial year 2022 ended December 31st, 2022. The increase was mainly due to better operating profit and a one-off gain from the disposal of a non-core asset, says the group. In its 9 months of financial year 2022 results, Food Empire revealed that it made $15 million from the same disposal. Linko Trade and Associates Holdings, formerly Fabchem China, has reported a loss of $9.5 million for the first half of financial year 2023 ended December 31st, 2022, down from the $251,000 in earnings in the same period the year before. The loss was mainly due to the surge in other losses, which includes the one-off non-cash reverse takeover expense of around $10.8 million. PEC Limited has reported earnings of $2.9 million for the first half of financial year 2023 ended December 31st, 2022, 43% lower than the earnings of $5 million in the corresponding period the year before. Revenue fell by 2% year on year to $191 million due to lower revenue from its maintenance services segment. Shares of Palantir popped more than 19% in extended trading Monday after the company released fourth quarter earnings that beat analysts' estimates on the top and bottom lines. Palantir's revenue for the quarter increased 18% year over year, and its U.S. commercial revenue grew 12%. The software company, which is known for its work with the government, said its U.S. commercial customer count increased 79% year over year, growing from 80 customers to 143. Roomba maker iRobot on Monday announced plans to cut around 7% of its workforce. The cuts will affect roughly 85 employees, iRobot said in its fourth quarter earnings report. The company had 1,254 employees as of December 31st, 2022. For the fourth quarter, the company lost $84.1 million on $357.9 million in revenue. Ford Motors said Monday it will collaborate with a Chinese supplier on a new $3.5 billion battery plant for electric vehicles in Michigan, despite tensions between the US and China. Lisa Drake, Ford's vice president of EV industrialization, said the automaker will own the new facility through a wholly owned subsidiary instead of operating it as a joint venture with CATL, which several automakers, including Ford, have done with non-China partners in the US. Zeekr, the electric car brand of China's Geely Automobile Holdings, is raising $750 million from 5 new and existing investors in a funding round that values the brand at $13 billion. Zeekr said in a statement on Monday, February 13th, that proceeds from the funding round will be used to support technology research and the global expansion of the Zeekr brand. Finland's Salcomp, a supplier to Apple, is planning to more than double its workforce in India to nearly 25,000 over the next 3 years, a company executive said on Monday. Salcomp, a major supplier of chargers to the iPhone maker, is also setting up a housing complex with entertainment and education for about 15,000 people. Twilio on Monday announced plans to cut around 17% of its workforce, or roughly 1,500 jobs based on the 8,992 employees reported as of September 30th, 2022. The announcement came after the cloud communications software maker already laid off around 11% of its workforce as part of a restructuring plan in September. That's all for today. For financial news, tune in weekdays at 8:30 a.m. live on YouTube and Facebook. Please like and subscribe for more. See you again and have a great day.